I'd like to start to say that a long time back, maybe quite a few years, maybe 10, 12, 15 years, I don't know. I heard this pastor preach once, and he said that I would like to start off this whole thing with that statement. It said that if you tell someone how big your vision is, and if they don't laugh, then your vision is not big enough. I don't know if you really got that, but it says that if you tell someone how big your vision is, and your vision is not big, I mean, he doesn't laugh. If he laughs, then your vision is big enough. So if he doesn't laugh, then there's something wrong with your vision. Yeah, the vision in the sense, not your seeing vision, but your outlook in life, what do you want to do, such a big vision which you have. So that's what driven me so long and through these years, which I kept as something which I always look up to. So to start off with, Pharez is going to take us through beginning and how we started off this whole thing. So Pharez, over to you.
Thanks, Timmy. Thank you guys for having us here today, and thank you, Carol, for the opportunity. So let me be fast on this. So if you tell someone how big your vision is, and if they don't laugh, then your vision is not big enough. Yes, to start with, every goal is achievable if we put our heart, mind, and soul into it. So this doesn't really mean everything is possible all by ourselves, because without God, everything can fail or something can fail. So we believe in that as well. We did our best in terms for the song that we are talking about, and God took care of the rest. That's exactly what happened with Perfect Sunrise. We couldn't have done it without God guiding us through. In fact, we did not foresee this song turning people's lives and giving hope during this season, and even being here right now on this call, we did not see this coming. So all glory to God alone. So just a quick question to you guys here. So how long do you think it took for us to complete this one single song with 100 singers, Perfect Sunrise? You can feel free to give your answers on the chat. How long do you think this song took for us to work and complete? Okay, I can see some good guesses out there. So it was a little more than a month. When Nitin was initially discussing about this, involving so many singers and musicians, almost 7 of them musicians are playing the song. And when we were thinking about this, it meant to do this remotely, which is without being able to meet, and so many other unimaginable roadblocks were ahead of us. It seemed tough, and it was surely impossible by just the 3 of us. But what kept us going was we did not get blown away with the magnitude. We never uttered words like we won't be able to do it, or we can't do it, or it's a waste of time. What's the point doing this? Looks like a huge process. What do we benefit out of this? Nothing at all. There was no negative thoughts or talks, even though we knew it was such a tall mountain to climb over. But it was so much to do with the right kind of people who we are working with. And we've always believed that creativity doesn't really have to apply to the ones who are a part of an art-related job or art-related field or art-related circle. Anyone can be creative in anything, and we strongly believe, be it the simplest things like making a cup of coffee for yourself or for others. It started like that for us, a simple thought just to motivate people during this season of unexpected lockdown and whatnot. Yeah. So it all starts with that first thought of being unique, to be wanting to make a difference in the field that you're in, be it anything at all. So going back to the coffee example, how many coffee lovers here can wave? Coffee lovers, first thing in the morning, a cup of coffee. Yeah. Okay, so I've never found anything creative about making a coffee. Yes. But the idea has always been something so impressive to us, because David Sharma decided to combine art and coffee, and he was the guy who came up with this whole concept of latte art in the 1980s. We are sure this came into existence purely by a shallow thought that he conceived to impress somebody, maybe. Yeah, in spite of being in a field which doesn't really have to be creative, being in a field that doesn't deal with arts or anything to be unique, Nothing can be unique in a cup of coffee, but still something that he did has been such a trend-setting concept right now, right? I mean, the thing that you see on the froth, on the foam on the coffee, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So coming back to the song, the factful way how we climbed over this mountain was by being organized. Yeah, and honestly speaking, all of us have been in this industry for a while, doing things, music, video production, all this. So we were constantly working on something to build a strategy or a method on how to achieve the creative goal. Yeah, so looking at the Bible, we like to bring out something. In Genesis, we see that, we see the whole process of creation. And the first few things that we can notice while God was creating earth was, first thing was God was organized. So we like to point that we were a bit organized in what we were doing with this song. So we had a structure, God had a structure. So we were following a structure. One thing followed the other and there was no clutter. Yes, God followed a step-by-step process to attain what he desired. So, what I'm trying to say is, by having an organized view and a set of procedure while doing anything for that matter, would enable us to reach our goal better, with more clarity and creativity also. Like I said, our process started with a thought to encourage and motivate people during this lockdown than sitting bored and broken down. So from here, we moved to the next process of breaking down on how to make it creative and how we could offer something which is new and interesting for the viewers. Over to Timmy.
Well, I'd like to start off by saying that our vision was very big, as Pharez just pointed out. When you visualize something, I don't know how many of you visualize. Visualize is something where you got to see something which is not visible until the end. I kind of, because being from this creative field from all these years, working with 2D images and then going into 3D and lighting and stage design and all that stuff, I visualize a lot. So I said visualize, you can visualize at any time, like all over the place, like on a bike, on a car, when you're driving. The end of the song, if you guys watched it, it has a lot of like a graphic bit where like the map behind me appears, and then two hands come and hold the world, and with a lot of icons of everybody involved in frontline work, and how we wanted to say gratitude to these people. That's something that I visualized and shared with the guys, and they just bought the idea big time. To do that map took me like 4 days, because I had to get I got at least most of the countries that were affected with the coronavirus, and put it in there. We like to go biblically into Noah's life. So we're going to try and use Noah as an example for this whole thing. Even though he had the whole blueprint of the ark, he would have to visualize a lot of stuff, right? First of all, you had to visualize how big this ark is and this big boat is going to be. And then he had to visualize how rain is going to fall and how a flood is going to happen. And in spite of all the people are going to mock him, right? And also, if we take God and his creation, we cannot even compare anything to that. Like whatever he visualized was totally original, nothing to copy. Everything outside, the trees, the birds, the whatever, you and me and ants and anything is like totally created, and we were created in God's image, it says in Genesis 1:27. So God created us in his own image. He made both male and female, and it's up to us to develop each and every one of our thinking and to visualize what we need to create, be it a song, be it a piece of art, a dance. Just think about it. Think about the purpose of what you're going to do, and visualize the end product. So that's what I would like to say. And jumping into the back to what we are still doing with the song, I think Nitin is going to talk about how we planned stuff and worked out things.
Yeah. So yeah, so just a quick recap. We're basically going through the creative process and how you go about the whole creative process, irrespective of what it is, what field you are, whatever you're trying to do. So the first one, of course, like Pharez said, is the thought. Is the idea of wanting to do something and trying to figure out what exactly you want to do. The second one, like Timmy was saying, is to visualize and get a direction as to where you're going to head. And then comes the drawing board, which is the planning phase. I'm going to use a cliche here, so excuse me for that. But there's a saying which says, if you fail to plan, you basically plan to fail. Okay, and I think that kind of really decides how the rest of the project is going to go forward. In terms of our thing, the magnitude of this whole thing was so big, we knew we had to plan it well. There was absolutely no room for errors, right? And in terms of the planning phase, the first thing we need to get right is to make sure that we get our core team sorted. Okay, the core team, the people that you're going to work with, kind of will either help you achieve your goals and your crazy visions, or they're going to completely tear you down and you're going to end up with nothing, right? And so, that's why I'm really happy to have Timmy and Pharez, with me, because no matter how crazy the idea could be, they're always up for the challenge, and that really helps me. So coming to the song, the first thing that we had to do was we had to plan the skeletal structure of the song. So that would be the genre of the song. Okay, what kind of music are we going to do? What is the target audience going to be? Is it going to be relatable? What kind of stuff related to that? The structure of the song, that is, what verses or chorus or bridge or solos, if any. Who is going to do the vocal arrangement of the song? What is the video concept going to be? And the fun fact was, we actually had the whole video idea where you guys saw the grids and stuff like that. We had that ready before we even chose the singers or the musicians or any of that stuff, right? So everything was happening parallelly, so we could kind of piece the whole thing together. Once we got that done, we kind of got down to identifying the singers, musicians, the technical team, that is the sound engineers, or the video editors, so on and so forth. And we also started having backup options. So if somebody was busy, what do we do? Who do we go to? Right? We started fixating on who was going to do the solo, whose voice would suit the song, stuff like that. What we did was we had like an Excel sheet. I'm just going to show you guys this Excel sheet that we had, which kind of clearly dictates and denotes who is what. Just give me a second here, please. Okay, so can you guys see this? Yeah? Can I have a thumbs up if you guys can see my screen? Okay, cool. So as you guys can see, so I had like verse 1, the first line, second line, third line, who was going to sing it. Verse 2, the chorus, who was going to sing, the main melody, who's going to sing the sopranos, who's going to sing the high harmonies, the low harmonies. Verse 3, chorus 2. Then, of course, if you guys have heard the song, you'll see that there were different languages coming in, right? So who was singing, what language, so on and so forth. So I had all of those details right here. I also had all of the email addresses pasted here. I had a track of whether I've sent the mail to people, whether people have, have they sent me back the audio file, have they sent me back the video file, have I sent the file to Pharez, so on and so forth. So this is a quick idea, just want to show you guys, this is kind of how organized we had to keep the entire process rolling, in order for us to make sure that we didn't miss out on people, because with 100 people, you're kind of bound to miss out on a few people here and there, and that cannot afford to happen. Another thing that we had to plan is how do we approach all of these people. The thing was, there was no remuneration involved. Everyone who did this was completely voluntary, right? So, and there were a lot of senior musicians involved in the project as well. So how do we talk to them? How do we approach them? Another thing also was, since there are 100 people, you cannot leave anything to ambiguity. So we had to send out a detailed email. By the way, the entire video was done on phones, right? Like we recorded the audio as well as the video on phones. There were no studios involved except for people who had a setup at home. And so we had to send them out a detailed email, saying, if you're recording on a phone, you need to do this, so on and so forth. So that's kind of how, we had the whole thing planned. We had to make sure that our plan was in place. The thing is, when it comes to any project, if we don't progress fast, we kind of tend to lose the drive or the passion to, pursue that. So we had to, if you plan it right, your execution is going to be easy. And then the next phase, of course, is the execution phase. To be honest, that was such a breeze. Since we had everything set, all we had to do was just send out the emails, and things just fell in place so beautifully. And God really helped us through the entire thing. There was no chaos or any of that stuff. And like Timmy was saying, in terms of like Noah's story, I'm sure he had to plan his resources, he had to plan his time, right? And and God led him through everything. it doesn't matter what our background is. It does not matter, whether we are skilled or not. Because if you look at the Bible, Noah was not an engineer, right? Moses was not a voyager. Joseph never studied political science, and Saul did not attend Bible college. Okay, God does not call the qualified; He qualifies the called.
Okay, so I'm going to be again talking about the next phase that we hit when we were doing this. So from the execution phase, things started happening, and it was pretty promising to an extent. But at the same time, we were losing track of time. We had gone way over the time that we had in our hands for this particular song. So generally, as a full-time musician, or be it anybody, in the sense anybody who's involved with working with people or something creative or working on a project, there's always some sort of a credible return or remuneration, or even some sort of a recognition from what you're doing that you get back out of it. But this project did not have anything at all. It was more like we were floating on air, keeping in mind the pandemic, no returns as such, and so many big names involved, no financial gains for anybody, nor did we know whether this project would turn out to be a success or what we were looking at it to be. We were completely on the edge, just like how Nitin was saying. If the project is not progressing fast, we tend to lose the drive to get it over with, So we needed a lot of encouragement to pull this off, and a lot of sleepless nights, and it was in turn taking a toll on our energy levels as well. So again, Nitin said, we are talking, and we took Noah into perspective a lot. We had our fair share of hurdles that we were dealing with as well, like Noah. Though we were so rooted in Christ, with Christ, and placing our trust in Him alone, lockdown, stuck within four walls, family being bored at home, friends complaining about work from home, and in the contrast, losing their mind, losing their joy, losing their jobs, economic downfall, people getting into more debts. The worst of all, the graph growing taller day by day on the number of deaths due to corona and COVID cases around the world. It all had a huge impact on our motivation levels. It was never too easy to get this done. We never really knew what we were doing, or whether we should stop this and get it over with. Quick question, have you guys ever felt demotivated while in the process of achieving something or doing something? How do you think you can overcome this? You can put your comments on the chat window quickly. How do you think you can keep yourself motivated during this whole phase?
One way I do it personally, just to add, I am a big sports fan, so I do watch a lot of documentaries that inspire me. So I am watching for Michael Jordan's documentary that has been released. So I do take a lot of credit from others' work, how they achieved it, even though it may not be related to my work. That's how I use the inspiration of others as well, as a practical example, in case I feel stuck in my own zone.
Makes sense. Yeah. Thank you, Isaac. Anybody else want to add something here?
Maybe sometimes we haven't planned it well, so that's why demotivation might be coming from there. So you want to just go back and check your plan once again. Is it in place, and then get back to it.
True, Marvin. I mean, though we had crossed the planning phase, it involved a lot of people, so it was too much to handle during this time, and we weren't even able to reach people on their phones directly, so we had to wait for them to call us back, or depending on their moods. So there was a lot of confusion and a lot of backlogs as well. Again, talking about Noah, coming back to the topic, Noah was able to do this and finish the arc successfully just because of his relationship with God. It was definitely the number one reason. So we cannot imagine doing this song successfully at this level of perfection without the help of God. Second would be his family, who were the closest, Noah's family, who were the closest in trusting him through it all. We sure can understand how everyone around them was so negative and judgmental. In our case, it was purely through family and good friendship as well. Hope and positivity came into play. We spent hours talking to each other, not only on the phone or not only about the song, but overall talking about the growing pandemic, crying over phone calls, depressing discussions, being there for each other through it all, trying to understand reality, finding faith and hope by praying on our phone calls, wishing well to each other, hoping well, goodness to each other, being part of support groups and praying for other families and friends. We did and do have friends who are demotivating and discouraging us about the vision we had, but we knew why we were doing this. Nothing can stop us if we know and remember why we started it. In fact, I learned this I learned this and I started believing in this strongly while working on this project. Never forget why you started something in the first place. The reason behind your vision and your mission, the reason behind your sleepless night. Yeah, putting on something that fuels me generally, just like how Isaac was just saying, he watches sports reviews and motivation talks by other sportsmen. I always believed in this line: if it was too easy to reach, then everyone would do it. Why should you be different? So choosing to fight through it in spite of being discouraged and distracted is the very first step to success. Not losing focus, and that was put on the group as well. Let your focus be on the light that is on the end of the tunnel, though it is not so bright and clear always. Yes, so always have your vision focused so that you don't lose your motivation. To top this off, we have to deal with few of our other hurdles which were anticipated earlier, but that added up to the strenuous process as well. Over to Nitin.
So the kind of the last part of and the most important part of any sort of creative process or a project is fixing errors, right? We almost come across a lot of we can anticipate and a lot of stuff we don't anticipate either, right? And yeah, the thing is, when we're starting out anything, you might, the first time we try something new, chances are you will have a lot of obstacles and you will fail quite a few times. But I think it matters how quickly we get up rather than just sit back down and be like, oh man, I cannot do this. Just quick question to some of y'all. I'm sure all of us have worked on group projects either at home or at work or anything like that, right? What are some of the issues you guys have faced? Just shout out your answers. It's fine. You don't type it out.
Communicating with people sometimes becomes a challenge.
Absolutely. Yeah, communication. Yeah, very true. What else?
Coordination.
Coordination, absolutely. Yes, coordination is definitely really, really hard. Okay, I'm just going to quickly run through. Anybody wants to say anything before I...
Creative difference.
Creative difference.
Absolutely, that's really huge. When a lot of creative people are involved, there's too much of creativity in the room sometimes, right? So yeah, creative difference definitely it can also be a hurdle as much as an advantage. Sorry, someone else was saying something.
Said get everything on time.
Get everything on time. Yes, that is the biggest challenge always. Yeah, I will give you guys a story about that. So. Some of the hurdles that we faced was communication, like Tim Irwin was saying, communication, right? Musicians could not understand what we were looking for, okay, in terms of the feel, or singers couldn't understand what we were trying to communicate, okay, because everything was done virtually, okay, everything was done on phone calls or on emails, and that was such a big issue for us. People's schedules, okay, people didn't respond, some of them working, jobs during the day or family stuff in the evenings, a few days to respond also sometimes. Okay, so we had to find alternatives. So some people didn't respond. People backed out halfway through. We had to find, alternatives for that. Sometimes what would happen was we found an alternative and then someone would come back and be like, hey, okay, you know what? Here is my thing. And what do? You can't say, no, I'm sorry, I only found someone else, right? Some people could not understand what we wanted in terms of the feel or the tune. Some of the videos were sent in with the wrong specs, different from what we had asked them. This was actually a funny story. So what happened was, since everything was recorded on phones, how many of you guys have worked with a digital audio workstation, a DAW? Okay, yeah. So how it works is, I'll tell you guys how it works. So basically, there's this thing called a grid. So everything falls in time, right, when it comes to a song. So when you're recording it on a phone, it's not on time. So you have to kind of look for where it is and place it, right? So we had clicks happening on the song, and I told them on the last 2 clicks, clap along so I know where to place it, okay? And I get a mail from one of the singers, and they said, I do not know where you wanted me to clap or no on the click, so I've sent you 4 claps separately, okay? So we've had stuff like that and all happening, okay? So communication was such a big issue for us, okay? People couldn't understand what I was trying to say. Had I been clearer, maybe they would have understood, okay? And this is something that I'm sure a lot of you guys can relate to as well. We face a lot of attitude when you're working, okay? If people don't agree with you or whatever it is, I'm just going to leave it at that, okay? This is a line, that really helped me. That I think Timmy told me this. First time I heard it was from Timmy. He said, winning isn't everything, okay? Attitude is about being a good loser as well, all right? So it's all about how we take things. It's all about, how we perceive things and how we react to situations. And the last and final hurdle we faced, and we are actually done with everything, and we were set to release the song on Sunday evening at 4 p.m., okay? And we are excited. Pharez and I okay, wow, this is it's all Timmy's work now, because the video is the one that's getting ready. And Timmy at 3 o'clock, he calls and says, hey, I'm having a small issue. We're fixing it right now, but I'll get back to you. And he cuts the call. And at 3:30, he's like, yeah, we're still having the small issue. We're fixing it right now. I'll get back to you.
It was a small, big issue.
Yeah, that small issue actually we finally ended up releasing the song at 1 o'clock the next morning. Okay, that's how small the issue was. And so the thing was, the entire song and the video didn't sync. Okay, and I want to
the video, the entire song and 100 videos.
100 videos didn't sync. Yeah, everything was all over the place. Okay, so what happens is in the way our group works, out of the 3 of us, I panic the most. Pharez is next, and Timmy is absolutely chill. Okay, so he kind of knew the team so well, and knew that if he tells Pharez and me, we'd probably land up at his house the same night in spite of the lockdown. He kept us in the dark. Okay, he didn't breathe a word about what was happening. He's like, yeah, it's a very small issue. It's a very small issue. Only once we released the video, he actually told us saying that was what the problem was. The entire sync was off. Okay, and so it also matters to keep your cool, to know your team, to know the team that you're working with. And yes, you are going to face hurdles, but don't back down. Keep pushing on, and you will definitely get there. And yeah, that's pretty much when it comes to fixing issues and errors. To me.
Yeah, I'd like to end about the whole thing about the Art United. We came up with this idea that it's got to be like unity, which brought us together, and that and all the artists and everyone, finally, it's all about unity and oneness. I'd like to start by saying, whatever, as I said, visualize till the end. So whatever it may be, as 1 Corinthians 10:31 says, so whether you eat or drink or whatever you do it all for the glory of God. Well, that's how we came up with this whole idea, the end, the concept about saying thanks and dedicating the song and the whole end part of it. So we said we didn't want this thing just to go as another song, but to have a purpose in whatever it does. So that's why we put in that whole end section, even though it was a little long after the song. The whole song is 5 and something minutes. So but still we said let's put it in, and the music part of it, which added to the whole end, gave it such emotion, and thank God for that creativity too from Vivin, the guy who played it in the end. Well, that's how we'd like to close it, and close in the sense this part of whatever we had to tell you. I'd like to just say that in spite of all the 100 people having the same mindset and unity as we were talking till now, if not for the 3 of us who were the main core team, had God's grace and peace and were united to understand each other, I don't think we could have pulled this off. No matter which place of work you're in, just be creative and bring out the best you can in your life and in how you are. Maybe it's just you. People who just look at you and think that and see God in you. So try and do things that and think about and visualize things on how the end product would look. Be positive. There are lots of things which are common to people, and like love and hope in life, like we talk about.